If you had your three wishes, it's no good to you now. What do you keep it for?
Fancy, I suppose. I did have some idea of selling it, but I don't think I will. It's done enough damage already. Besides, people won't buy it. Some think it's a fairy tale, and others want to try it first and buy after.
If you could have another three wishes, would you?
I don't know. I don't know. No, I'm damned if I would.
What are you doing?
Let it burn. Let the infernal thing burn.
Let it burn, Father.
No. If you don't want it, let me have it.
I won't. I won't. My hands are clear of it. I threw it in the fire. If you keep it, don't blame me, whatever happens. Here, pitch it back again.
No, I'm going to keep it. What do you say, Herbert?
I say keep it if you want to.
Good evening and welcome to the Expressions Digital Director's Cut featuring members of the Southern Tier Actors Read discussing their recent episodes of spooky dramatic readings. I'm Andy Piak, broadcasting live from the WSKG Digital Studios, and I'll be taking you behind the scenes of this production that was filmed at the Phelps Mansion Museum in Binghamton. We'll be talking to some of the performers shortly and showcase footage that didn't make the broadcast episode. Now, of course, we would love to hear from our audience tonight, so use the chat box to ask a question about the program and tell us your favorite scary short story. I think it's time to bring in our first guests of the evening. Let's welcome my co-director for this project, Chris Nickerson, and the amazing Bill Gorman to the Digital Director's Cut. Good evening, gentlemen.
Hey.
Hello there.
Hello, Bill and Chris. Thank you so much for all your hard work on this project and for all your past work. Bill, I wanted to ask you right off the bat, can you remember what your first project was for WSKG? It had to have stretched back probably close to 20, 25 years now, right?
Yeah, I would imagine. It might have been one of the Halloween things. I remember doing The Raven.
Well, it's funny.
Edgar Allan Poe's, The Raven. And yeah.
I'll tell you a little director's cut knowledge. If you want to know who was running teleprompter for your Raven performance, it was me. So hopefully, like all these years, you haven't been holding a grudge about how fast the teleprompter was rolling that evening.
No, it was probably good. It kept me at a good pace,
I remember that was pretty early on in my time here, and your reputation had already preceded yourself. So I was pretty nervous about that assignment. So
yeah, it also might have been, we did War of the Worlds.
Okay. Yep.
Brian,
I remember that one.
Brian did that. Yeah.
Well, and of course, you've been the voice of many of Brian Fry's local documentaries through the years. So,
I've really been honored to narrate his beautiful work. Yeah.
And it was 10 years ago where you were Willis Sharp Kilmer as part of an Expressions Halloween special.
I guess it was. Was it 10 years ago? Yeah. Yes. I remember we did that, right? And Willis came back from the dead, and we started off with a shot of the mausoleum in Floral Park Cemetery, and suddenly Willis materialized outside, and then he was in the studio of WSKG telling his story.
You never know who's going to show up in our TV studio. So,
right.
We've had many, many years of working together. So it was great that you joined us for this production. And when I asked, I was working closely with Chris, and we're thinking of performers. And of course, you guys are both with Southern Tier Actors Read. And, I want to hear a little bit more about that organization. But Chris, this wasn't your first appearance on WSKG either, if I believe.
No, I did a couple things. Well, obviously Monkey's Paw. But before that, I also did Frack You.
Right. And Bill, you were involved with Frack You as well, right?
Right. I was directing it.
Yep.
Right. Yeah, that was quite a project.
Yeah.
That
was by a local playwright,
Laura Cunningham.
Right.
Right. On the fracking problem, and it took place in a bar. And I remember we had Craig Sager from the cider mill build the bar, and he had it open at certain places where you could put in cameras, so and also where they wouldn't be seen. So yeah, that was a interesting project.
It's also interesting that Heidi Weeks was in that production, who was the co-founder of Star. Just, it's a small world that we live in.
I also want to say that was the only time we painted our studio floor brown, was for the Frack You bar set. Usually it's always, that TV gray, but we actually, I think, painted it brown to help with the Frack You bar set. So,
right.
Yeah, no, a lot. We've been involved with so many great projects, and I feel Halloween Tales has just added to the list. And we just mentioned Southern Tier Actors Read. So maybe you guys can both kind of give us a little history of the group.
Sure. It's been around, I'd say, 11 years now. They had our anniversary. We had the break for the pandemic. But it was founded by Judy McMahon and Heidi Weeks. Basically, it came to the point where there's so many great plays that are not done because of sets having to be built, huge casts. There's a lot of classics that aren't done. We've done some Shaw plays, some Chekhov, Little Foxes, a lot of things that most theaters won't touch because of one of the main things is size and the cost. So as a reading, the emphasis is on the script and the words. So we can do a lot of terrific things that theaters aren't willing to do anymore. So it was a great idea that they had. And we've been doing 2 or 3 productions a year. I'm the third co-director with Judy. First it was Heidi Weeks, and then Kate Murray, and now me with Judy McMahon. And we've had a lot of great fun and a lot of good productions. So yeah, we're really proud of it, I think.
And you can, Joe, I just saw that that Patrick just posted a link to the Southern Tier Actors Read Facebook page in our chat box. You can visit that for upcoming productions and more information. And so we filmed these 3 Halloween Tales segments with Star at the Phelps Mansion Museum, and that was that kind of fit with a couple of other factors. But I believe Star does have an ongoing relationship with the Phelps Mansion Museum, correct?
Yes, we've done a number of productions with the Phelps with Star. We've always worked really well with them. And at one point, we actually had an immersive production of Christmas Carol that Kate Murray produced that went through the entire mansion and brought the audience through the mansion as we performed a Christmas Carol. And so, yeah, they have a great connection with the local theater at the Phelps. They're always willing to help us out.
We're seeing a collection of knickknacks and trinkets that just run all through the Phelps Mansion. All this footage was shot by our colleague Stefan Schweitzer.
Beautiful.
And yeah, this is really cool. We
Place.
could almost fill the entire hour just with this footage.
Yes.
So but so we decided to film there, kind of partly because there are rumors that the Phelps Mansion is haunted. Plus, also, we just mentioned Brian Fry. His latest documentary concerned another local mansion haunting, Alonzo's Ghost, which just premiered last Monday. Obviously, concerns the Robertson Museum. So we kind of liked the connection of filming something at the Phelps. But I have to ask, you guys have spent a lot of times at the Phelps Mansion. Have you felt any spirits while you're working there?
Well, you want an honest answer?
Make something up.
Yes. I remember being in the bathroom one time and someone knocked on the door.
Wow. Okay. Well, I think that's indisputable proof, Bill.
And then the lights went
for sure.
And
the toilet turn the switch.
All right, so maybe we should have gotten. I know the great folks at Phelps Mansion, Joe and Jennifer. Maybe we should have got them in the live stream, because I do think Joe has mentioned that he's heard spirits. I
wouldn't be surprised. Well, he lives there now, so in the basement. He lives in the basement, so
maybe he's just hearing voices, but it might not be a haunting from the mansion. Well, let's talk about the Halloween Tales that you two were involved with. Chris, early on in the project, you and I, over the summer, we were trading short stories almost every day as we were working towards, what stories we wanted to read. And we were looking at some more futuristic type Twilight Zone-ish type of stuff. And then I think when we decided to film at the Phelps, and kind of like the Gothic overtones, I think we decided just to go back to Edgar Allan Poe. There's Chris sitting in the room where we filled the cask of Amontillado, and I don't know. We had a lot of fun, like using the chairs. The chair that Bill Gorman got to sit in. I mean, my goodness, it was almost like something out of Game of Thrones. I mean,
right.
Well, I have to ask, how long did you guys rehearse that? I'm sure you've probably done these readings before, but I mean, you guys had such good chemistry in that reading. I'm curious how long you guys worked on it.
Yeah, Bill and I both have, a lot of reading experience. So, yeah.
And we've worked together, before on
Yeah.
some readings. And of course, these were both really monologues, so a lot of the rehearsal could be done, just yourself. And I knew that, Chris would be a great partner, in the story, and we could have a lot of good back and forth. So
Bill's been a sort of mentor of mine since college days. So when I first started at Binghamton University, I was lucky enough to work with Bill in a couple productions on college campus and at the cider mill. So I always consider myself lucky if I get the chance to work with Bill. So.
Well, you mentioned the Scrooge, and I mean, obviously, Bill, for years and years, I mean, that was your part. So we have,
Yep.
we have two Scrooges
Right.
as part of our show.
Right.
So I better watch my wallet.
Look out.
Well, one of the issues, Chris, and we went through this, not only with this segment of the show, but also with Telltale Heart and with the Spirit Elopement, was making sure that we got the right timing down, because obviously we had to take some. I think you abridged the script even before we filmed it, and then I think I took about a minute out of what we filmed. So how difficult was that to cut down for TV purposes?
It wasn't really difficult. There is, the time that Poe was writing, people were a lot more willing to go through a verboseness in the writing. So there's a lot of repetition of things that were done in the writing. So editing it was not that difficult, just to get to the basics of the movement and to the basics of what needs to move the plot along. Because a lot of times there are descriptions and stuff like that that you can edit out. It doesn't really forward the plot. So yeah, I was able to edit down. I would sit and read the script, perform it myself, and just with a watch and see how far I could get it, and then just cut and cut and cut. Yeah.
Well, we cut down quite a bit, but just in case we had to cut down even more, I did edit together a version of the segment that we may have possibly used. So let's take a look at that right now.
I have received a pipe of what passes for Amontillado, and I have my doubts.
How? Amontillado?
I have my doubts.
Amontillado?
I have my doubts.
Amontillado.
And I must satisfy them.
Amontillado.
I have my doubts.
Amontillado.
Herein is the Amontillado. As for Lucrezi,
He is an ignoramus.
true,
He is an ignoramus.
true.
The Amontillado.
The Amontillado.
The Amontillado.
The Amontillado.
We will have many a rich laugh about it at the Palazzo over our wine.
The Amontillado.
Yes, the Amontillado.
So there you go. I'm glad we didn't end up having to use that version, but now we have it just in case we ever need to fit the whole program in 5 minutes, I guess.
I think Poe is turning over in his grave right now. So
Well, you should have to drink the Amontillado every time you hear Amontillado in that segment. How about that?
it's a drinking game. Yes, it's a drinking game. Yes.
So Chris, let's segue over to the final segment of the program, which was your reading of Telltale Heart. And I believe initially our plan was for Bill to read this one too. And I think we made the great decision of having him kind of carry the first one, and then you carrying the second one. Can you tell me what it's like? Because that really was just you for the entire thing. What's it like pretty much just performing a monologue with no one else?
Chris, yeah.
Go ahead, Bill.
I think I suggested that you should do that because, I figured Cask of Amontillado was kind of mine, and it was going to be interesting to see what you would do with the Telltale Heart, which turned out really well.
Yeah,
So,
I think I was talking to Bill about it, and we were planning on him doing it. And then I mentioned to him that I actually performed it off book as a piece a few times a few years back.
right,
And
right.
it was it was pretty well received, I think. So, and it was obviously when you do something like that, a one person thing, a number of times, it gets pretty stuck in your head. So, doing it as a reading, even though it was a reading, it was still very much like right there, accessible for me to play. And I was really grateful that Bill allowed me to do that, like because he does have the larger role in Cask of Amontillado. So I was grateful that he asked me to do the Telltale Heart.
Yeah, no, I think it ended up working great as a bookend. And there you say, and and Bill did have a role in Telltale Heart. I thought the back of his head did quite well. Listening. The biggest problem that we had with that, I think, was just the set piece. If you looked at that previous picture, and here we go, here's this picture, you notice that's not the table that we used in the final production. I don't know if you recall, but in the first take, you were going, and you probably went for like 5 minutes, and your performance was so good, I didn't even notice the squeaky table. But Jeff Stahara, our great audio guy from Nuclear Studios, he definitely picked it up, and he eventually just barged in and was like, guys, this table is way too loud. So, and that actually, those are kind of the parts of production where you don't really think about it. And that probably shut us down for a good, 15, 20 minutes as we went scouring across the Phelps Mansion Museum looking for a replacement table. So
yeah, and you have to be careful when you're talking about museum quality tables. You can't just grab any old table. You have to be really careful moving things, and you do not want to break an antique. So.
I think I am happy to report that we broke no antiques during the filming of this project.
That's great.
It's for a reason.
Yes.
Once again, if you're enjoying this program and you have a question to ask either Chris or Bill or a question to me about the program, feel free to ask that in the chat box. Let us know what your favorite spooky short story is, and maybe next year Star can perform that for our Halloween special. So we're about ready to move on to our next segment. Bill, what any upcoming projects that we should look out for you, or what's on your docket?
Well, nothing much. The docket was just cleared a couple of weeks ago with another production that Star did of a show called Senior Moments, which was done at the Cider Mill and also at the library at Green. So no, don't have anything coming up at the moment. So I'm just glad that you asked me to do the story. I love the Cask of Amontillado, and I used to read it in class when I was teaching, and I just love that first sentence that gets right to the point. I mean, this is going to be a revenge story. That's the 1,000 injuries of Fortunato I had borne as best I could, but when he ventured upon insult, I vowed revenge. Boom. There, you're started.
It's great. And I mean, I have to say, it's always an honor to work with you. I can't thank you enough that you still come back and help out on our productions, and like the mark, and this holds true for both of your performances, but I've watched each of these, I mean, countless times, because I edited them together, and each time I do find something new in the performance, and that's just a testament to both of yours, your great ability. So can't thank you enough, and look forward to our next project, Bill.
All right. Thanks.
All right. So we'll say goodbye to Bill. Chris, we're going to bring in the cast of The Spirit Elopement in a second, but I do have to ask, I mean, everyone's heard of Edgar Allan Poe, but not a lot of people have heard of the author of The Spirit Elopement, Clotilda Mary Graves. So where did you even how did you even come across this story?
Well, as you said, I was going through a lot of books, and we started out with, I wanted to find something new and contemporary. I didn't know which direction we were going to go to. So the first books I ordered and read were really last few years horror stories. But then I also ordered a mammoth book of haunted house stories, simply because we had talked about the Phelps and you wanted to do it there. So I figured a haunted house story would be perfect. So I got this book, and of course I was also interested in finding something by a woman, just to change it up, because there's obviously horror stories and are usually the written by men most of the time. I'd say that seems to be an average kind of thing. Stephen King, that kind of thing. But then I found this book, and she wrote under a pseudonym. So she wrote under a man's name, and she was published. I think it was the 1930s, and it was a very funny little story, which I thought is a nice switch up from Poe, because which is dark and heavy, to have something lighter that's also a ghost story to put in between the two heavier sections of Poe. And you liked it, which was important. And so,
just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
So, but I mean, you did a great job finding the cast, and you did a great job, directing, because there's change, like different characters change their perspectives. They're talking to the audience, they're talking to other characters, and obviously, like, you had to put a lot of work into it. You had to cut this script down quite a bit. You had to deal with the old English that was, kind of involved with this script, which I think made it more difficult, for the actors.
It's funny that you mentioned that, because I've done quite a bit of Shakespeare, and I didn't even think of it as old English. I mean, now that I hear it, I know exactly what you're saying. But when I read it, it didn't. Probably because of all the Shakespeare I've read, it didn't seem that, But now that I hear it, I hear how dated it sort of sounds, or how in a certain time period it sounds. It's just, I never even thought of it that way, but it's true.
My beautiful wife is certainly no member of Southern Tier Actors Read, but she started reading the script, and it was like she was reading it in a completely foreign language, just because, like, she just, like, when you're not used to reading it that way, like, hardly any of it makes sense. So
right, it's funny.
Before we bring in the cast, I put together almost what you could say kind of a trailer. So if anyone is watching this live stream and somehow missed the actual program, we're going to roll just a quick clip to kind of introduce you to the cast of The Spirit Elopement. So let's run that right now.
I cannot go until Frederick has finished. Don't you see that he has materialized me by dreaming about me?
Wake up! Discourage them from this day. Neither think of her nor dream of her again, or I will have a separation.
I will keep her as much as possible out of my waking thoughts. But a man can't control his dreams. However, if she really is, as she has told me, a lady by birth and breeding, then she will understand that I am now a married man, and from this moment desire to have no further communication with her.
I want to explain matters to your husband. He should understand that I am a clergyman and a reputable spirit.
There, you hear what he says? Do let me go to sleep.
What? With that intrusive beast sitting beside you? Never!
Right, let's bring in at least half the cast of Spirit Elopement. We're going to bring in Jane Elliott, who portrayed the narrator, and Eric Bill is coming in as Simon, and of course Chris will stay in as he directed these merry spirits. We were hoping Dory Mae Gannison, who portrayed the spirit Katie, and James McCallick, who played Frederick, would be able to join us, but looks like they might not be able to. But Jane and Eric, welcome to the program, and thanks again for for just hanging out in the Chris, was that the main bedroom of the Phelps, or was that a guest bedroom where we filmed?
No, that was the main bedroom.
So yeah, not a bad day's work. I mean, Jane, you got to lay in bed for most of the role.
Yeah, some of the easiest staging physically I've had to do in a while. So great.
Well, I actually, like, at some point I lay down in the bed and I was surprised. I was a bit worried, like, all right, are they going to be able to lay in the bed the whole time? Yeah, you can see like, director hard at work. And it actually was pretty comfortable, and like, you guys had to move around a little bit in it, like we didn't break the bed, thankfully. So that was good. But was that one of your more unique spots for a performance?
Yeah, definitely. It was, it was funny too, because since we were doing it as a reading rather than as a fully memorized performance too, it was also this sort of thing to manage. Like, I'm acting from, here up mostly, but I also have this little script, and, so it was an adventure. It was fun though. I enjoyed getting to do it.
Yeah, definitely. Your character would switch perspectives. You would kind of break the fourth wall at times and describe the action to the audience, but then at the drop of a hat, you would have to wake up your spirit philandering husband. And so like how do you approach a role like that where you're kind of changing perspective so quickly?
Yeah, I think it really helps as an actor to have different sort of focal points to speak to. I think the thing for me was just that we were figuring a lot of it out on the fly as we figured out cameras and angles and all that kind of stuff. So the challenge wasn't necessarily having the different points of view to speak to, because that allowed for some shifts sort of in terms of not only physically, but also vocally and emotionally and whatever else. It was more just that I was doing it very quickly, right? So it was like, okay, so in this next one, we're going to have you here for this and here for that and here for this. And I was like, wait, are they ghosts now, or are they actually not there? Because that was another thing, was trying to talk to them when there was not an actor there, which is something you do on camera. But it was just, an adventure. It was a great time. I had a wonderful day doing this.
It was a lot of fun. We filmed it, I think, in late August, obviously at the Phelps Mansion Museum. And again, a big thank you to Jennifer and Joe for allowing us to pretty much take over their property for a couple of days. We filmed the Spirit Elopement segment in one day, and then we filmed the segments with Chris and Bill the next day. I think we thought the Spirit would take a little bit more time, but I want to say we were wrapped up. I want to say by like 2 or 3 o'clock. So I was I was pretty happy, and then I went back and edited it, and I didn't have to call for reshoots. That which would have blown our budget way out of proportion, probably. That would have been another meal from Wegmans for everyone. So I'm glad that didn't matter. Eric, you played a spirit who didn't. We didn't see you until the very end. But it was kind of unique. I won't spoil the ending of the story, but your character kind of sets off it, in motion, like kind of a twist ending. So can you tell me what it's like to kind of play a character who kind of turns the story on its head like that?
Well, I mean, it's just, that part's just the fun part. I get to come in at the end and just like change your perspective on all these other characters. And for me, it was fun to be able to just come in sort of at the end of this, but then still work with people like Jane and Dory Mae and Jim that were like, they had all their characters so well established. I think in the like short 4 or 5 minutes before, like, I feel like every character was so specific. And then being able to come in at the very end and just like totally throw a wrench in all these characters, things. And the character of Simon just really has an effect on the other three altogether, which is it's a lot of fun to kind of play off of that and then watch how that affects the others.
I think that's one of the things that really makes you think it's a woman playwright would think of that. The usual thing is to have a guy who has a girl ghost appear. But now we have, on the other hand, this guy ghost appear for the woman. And at that period in the 30s, no guy is going to write that. It's a woman writer who would bring up that difference, or that it's good for you, it's good for me too, bud. That whole other side of gender, which I thought was, great.
Yeah, it was a delight. I just was going to say real quick. Go ahead, Andy.
Well, it's interesting that you said she had to use like a male pseudonym. Even at the time she couldn't even use her real name because she knew like it wouldn't get published. So
and it doesn't feel like a man wrote it. You know what I mean? Even though she used a pseudonym, if you were reading that story, I mean, you'd wonder. I don't know. I would. It just seems it's got a very light, different kind of feel to it.
Right.
most-
Well, I
stories-
kind of picture the writer as Katie, and maybe that's just Dory May did such a great job of kind of like giving that spirit, so
Yeah.
like no pun intended, such great light, like brought her back to life, So I don't know, like that's what I'm
see that.
picturing Clotilde as.
I can see that.
We did have probably the one set problem we did have involved you, Jane, and it was when you had to wake your husband up. There were a couple of times figuring out that stage maneuver, and here's the tail end. You kept taking his pillow out from behind him, and there actually is, I had a video. We should have edited. There's a big sound effect where you pull that pillow, and you can hear his head hit the headboard. And
yeah.
and
Actually,
so
you only let me do it one time, and then everyone had this big reaction of no. Let's just have you, bop him on his arm instead.
well, we didn't. Yeah, we weren't able to bring the NFL concussion tent over for
No.
the set. The way we had to, we had to make sure that that Frederick and poor Jim McCallick, who actually only lives 3 houses down from me. So that was another great part of this project is I actually got to meet my neighbor for the first time. But he that poor guy had to read a lot of, he had to memorize a lot of that old English. And so yeah, maybe I think maybe bonking him on the head, that might have helped him, crack those lines a little bit, Jane. So might have known what you were
Maybe
doing.
so. I will always remember the reaction that everyone had to that moment because it really was. And it was in the script. I didn't do it maliciously. It was in the
No, it
script.
was in the script, yes. Yeah.
So I pulled the pillow and he just thunk right back on that beautiful antique headboard. So
I'm sure it was very hard.
yeah.
Very sturdy.
Very
well
sturdy.
built. Yeah.
Well, I'll have to ask you, I'm assuming this was probably one of your first, TV sets. So before, I think we had one rehearsal. I think I met you guys at Judy McMahon's house, one of the co-founders at Star. And I know she still runs a lot of rehearsals there. So I think I met you guys for a run through, but that was pretty much it as far as rehearsal time. So I was curious, what you thought the TV experience was going to be like, and if that met your expectations at all. More exciting, less exciting?
Yeah, for me, I mean, I've done some film, and quite a lot of the film that I've done has been, whenever we were working as close up as we were working, it was a single camera setup. So for me, it was just exciting. I've done a few multi-camera setups, but this was just really fun to work with that. And because I had those focal point shifts, it was exciting for me to sort of say, oh, well, I've got 3 cameras on me. I can turn anyway at any time, right? And it's going to not mess up anything, So it was really, really fun.
Well, I like how, at the start of the day, we had the one main wide shot, which we had to keep still because that was how, for the TV magic, that was how we were able to dissolve in, the ghosts, in and out of the frame and have it look seamless. And so we had that big wide shot and we're like, okay, Jane, you're just always going to talk to this camera. And then I think we were about halfway through the script and we realized, okay, that's not going to work. So now you're going to talk to this camera. So it just shows you that, yeah, we don't always have all these things planned, right out to the minute. And I mean, I can't thank, the actors enough. I appreciate you, putting up with our technical demands and all that. So definitely appreciated. Poor Eric was there all morning. I don't think he even got to deliver a line until after he ate his lunch. So
it's true. I know. I was sitting there looking at Jim just laying in the bed with his eyes closed, thinking, "Oh,
It was probably a very relaxing day for him. Besides getting his head bonked on the headboard. So, all right. Once again, if anyone in the audience has a question for the Spirit Elopement cast, feel free to post that in the chat. Leave your favorite. Like I said, doesn't even have to be spooky. Leave your favorite short story that you like to read, and maybe we can have Star, perform that on a future Expressions program. Well, Jane and Eric, and I can't thank you enough for for participating in our Halloween tales, and I definitely hope to work with you guys again in the future. And thanks for joining us this evening.
Oh, thank you. I had a lot of fun.
Yeah. Can we plug stuff really quick too?
Oh yeah. Yes, please do. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. What do you guys have upcoming?
I was just going to say I work at Binghamton University in the theater department, and we have our fantastic premiere of a Sri Lankan musical that's coming up next weekend, starting November 16th. And I'm also performing in the New Play Festival at No Theater, KNOW, which is here in Binghamton, which is where I met Chris. So it's coming back to that fun theater for another fun little piece. So yeah, it should be really fun.
That's great. What about you, Eric? You got anything?
Oh, I just closed Grease yesterday. We had our final performance with SRO Productions. So nothing coming up now. Now I have a little bit of a break. So go see Jane.
I've heard I heard through the grapevine that Grease show was so successful you had to add a performance.
Yeah, we had 6 sold out performances, and so we added a 7th, which also then subsequently sold out. So that was really nice.
That's great. Congratulations.
Yeah,
congratulations.
congrats.
What was your role?
I was Eugene, the nerd.
I know my older brother performed in Grease, and I know he was part of the T-Birds gang. I can't remember exactly what he was the guy he was the mooner. He was the guy who mooned.
Oh,
everybody.
yep, Roger. Yeah.
Okay.
Roger.
Yeah,
I played Duty. Duty.
These are the ways I remember things.
Pivotal roles.
Yes.
Well, Eric and Jane, thanks so much, and I'm sure we'll be working together soon.
Oh.
All right. So thank you guys for joining us, and we have one more segment to go. And I think it's been way too long since we checked in with our Expressions host, Adara Alston. And since she is also a longtime member of Southern Tier Actors Read, we figured tonight would be a great time to catch up. So let's bring Adara into the stream right now. Adara, how are you?
I am well. How are you?
I think the last time you appeared on one of our digital director's cuts, it might have been with tenor Tony Valleco, which was probably close to a year and a half ago. Is there any way that you can remember even all the productions that you were either a part of or directed or over the last year and a half for our audience? Is there any way you can even remember all those?
Gosh. Well, I got to shout out Franklin Stage Company. I did Good People there earlier this kind of spring summer season. With the amazing Betty Aberlin, and also Patricia Buckley, an amazing cast. And also Shenango River Theater. I just directed The Mountaintop there. Thank you, Zach Curtis. And also last year, Franklin Stage, I got to assistant direct on a play called Bricktop, a musical called Bricktop. And also the first reading and workshops of a play called Tolliver and Wakeman that was fully produced in the next season. Cherry Arts in Ithaca, they've been wonderful to me. Thank you, Sam Bigellon, for always providing me opportunities there. And we did As You Like It this summer, which was a lot of fun. I got to play the cajon. So that's about the last year and a half. Very, very quickly, some other things thrown in there. Oh, I also met on boats last year at Shenango River Theater too, where it was a cast of women playing historically men, which was a lot of fun. So.
Well, and the movie. Then you film a movie that the Christmas movie.
Yes, I did a film called, if you look on Hulu, it's called It's a Wonderful Binge. It's like The Purge, except a little different. And the holidays, it was a sequel, actually. And thanks to that, I was able to get my my SAG card. So thank you, Jordan Van Dyne. So that was a lot of fun. So if you see me, I'm in the beginning and the end of the movie. If you pull it up on Hulu, so you don't have to watch. You can watch the whole thing, or you can just look for me at the beginning and the very end.
And all of these, in addition to coming to the station every month and hosting our local arts and culture programs. So that's great. And we also get to celebrate an anniversary. For you, it was 10 years ago, the Willis Sharp Kilmer program that we talked to Bill Gorman about, that was partnered with another production that we filmed here in partnership with Star and directed by Kate Murray. The Monkey's Paw, the classic horror tale that we filmed here at the station. And it was the first time, I believe, that Adara appeared on WSKG. And we do have a little clip of that right now that we're going to roll.
Would you like to sit down?
Thank you. No, I think not. I think not.
Fine weather for the time of year.
Yes. My name is Miss Sampson. I've come.
Bet you came here to see Herbert. He'll be back in just a few minutes. That's his breakfast waiting there.
No, I've come from the electrical works.
Oh, why, you might have come with him.
No, I've come alone.
Is there anything the matter?
I was asked to call.
Herbert, has something happened? Is he hurt? Is he hurt?
There. Don't you jump to conclusions. Let the lady speak. You've not brought bad news, I'm sure, ma'am.
I'm sorry.
Is he hurt? Badly?
Very badly.
Oh, John. Oh, John.
Wow.
Oh boy.
Jeez.
It was 10 years ago.
I remember, that was, I think we filmed that all in one evening, 32-minute teleplay, pretty much.
The interesting behind the scenes story behind that is that I can't remember what happened, but that was supposed to be our dress rehearsal day. but luckily everybody was off book. And so the fact that was the real deal, we were still on it. So
I mean, knowing production, that was probably something that production probably pulled on the actors just to try to make sure that we got it all done in time. But knowing me and the way I work, like the air date was probably, October 31st, and we probably filmed it October 26th.
Yeah,
so we probably
amazing
didn't leave a lot.
job editing and putting that together.
Well, I do, a big reason why that was so we had our chief engineer at the time composed music, and he added a lot of the sound effects and the music. Dave Fulton did a great job, and we saw Judy McMahon. You were acting with Judy McMahon, and Bob Finley played the father.
Yeah, Bob.
So we had a really great cast, and it was great working with Kate Murray, and Chris. Yeah, you were involved with that production as well as Sergeant Morris. You started all the problems. You brought the paw onto that poor family.
Yes. That's one of the. I think it's might be the only one-armed character I've ever played.
There we go. I love our fireplace. I mean, that we really broke the budget. With that one. But here's some B-roll where this is where you're regaling them with the story of the paw and the powers. But remarkably enough, the Monkey's Paw is actually the most watched YouTube video on the WSKG YouTube page by probably close to 100,000 views. Oh, it's been viewed over 362,000 times, Adara, ever since we've reconnected and you posted the show. I think about every 6 months we go back and look to see how many views, and they keep going up. We imagine that some professors maybe show it as an assignment in the class, but for some reason our production has found a home on the internet, and it's a lot of fun.
It is, and it's exciting to look back. I don't have anything close to that. I posted something one time, like a Cornell video of the chimes, the bells that play, and it had 4,000 views. And I thought that was amazing. And it says 362,000. And if you go and you Google productions of the Monkey's Paw, there aren't really too many ones that stand up as far as the quality. So I definitely get it as far as it being a destination that, you know, if you're doing it in middle school or high school or even college, that an instructor would say, hey, this is the production you need to see.
It
I have to say that when I just recently rewatched it when you showed it again, and I was really impressed by the camera work. I don't think I was thinking about that when we first filmed it, but seeing it now at the distance, I'm watching it. I thought you guys did an excellent job.
I did well, and you know, it was kind of a fun project for me to work on because when I was growing up, I loved watching, you know, the old black and white horror movies. You know, like when the Mummy was, you know, slomping around, you know, chasing it, and you know, and Dracula meets Frankenstein and all that. So the fact that I could film a horror story, and I have to admit, one of the reasons I made it black and white was because I wasn't completely happy with the way I lit it, and I wondered how it would look in color. So I'm like, you know what, we can kind of make it cheesy and turn it black and white, and that can kind of maybe take, you know, one step. At least I don't have to color correct, you know, black and white. But you know, I do think it fit, and I love that there's like, it's a good solid production, but then there are also some parts that are just like will kind of make you chuckle. You know, it's got, you know, just a little hint of cheese in it, but you know, not so much that it, you know, like really takes you out of the production. And once again, like the actors were, you know, like the acting was like really good. Like poor Bob Finlay, you know, at the end of the production, like he, you know, like they were all just so frantic. And yeah, I do remember when we filmed it, I had like I was in, you know, production control, and we had camera operators, and yeah, I had like a pretty exhaustive shot by shot list, and yeah, that one did require a lot of pre-planning. And
yeah, there's just so many nice movements where you have somebody standing forward and people behind them. The way you framed people blocking wise, there was a lot of nice things like that.
Yeah, and I, you know, part of it was probably, you know, part of it was it was all planning. That's all I'm gonna say. No, well, and you know, I mean, we didn't have a lot of rehearsals, but I do remember doing at least probably 3 or 4 run throughs with you guys, or so. I mean, I think we were able to block it a little bit, but yeah, I definitely look back fondly at that production for sure. Yeah. So I don't know. I guess we can't really do a sequel. Well, I don't know. Maybe we can do a sequel to The Monkey's Paw.
Yeah, I was trying to think of what similar piece holds up that could be that we could do, but it's tough. The Monkey's Paw is kind of perfect.
Yeah.
Well, it's also public domain, so we didn't have to worry about you know, paying in, and you know, the same thing with you know, with these stories, and yeah, unfortunately that you know, that's something we have to consider. So once again, Eddie, we call to the audience if there's any short stories or even longer teleplays that we'd like to see, because you know, a lot of times, you know, recently Expressions has you know, devoted a lot of, you know, to concerts and musicians, which, you know, obviously we have an incredible amount of talent, but I definitely think a show like this, you know, we should produce more of, because obviously we have a lot of great acting talent too, and a lot of great stories can be told this way as well. So I think it's just going to open the door, because I know I had a lot of fun, and it was great working with Chris and the actors. So I think we're coming to a close, but I do think you know, we do need to toot our own horn. We don't do it a lot on Expressions, but Adara and Alyssa Micha and our audio engineer, Mike Micha. Alyssa does a great job editing and pretty much co-producing the program with me. We all went to New York City, and we got nominated for an Emmy Award, but I don't think anyone actually thought we would actually win the Emmy Award. So we're going to actually show it off a little bit. This is the real thing. I still can't believe it. Like, it's very heavy, and I don't want to drop it, but man, Adara, congratulations. Alyssa, I know you're back there switching. Congratulations, you guys. You guys worked so hard on the show, and can't thank you enough. There we are. There's Adara, there's Alyssa, and Mike, and yeah, there's me. Like, I knew we were gonna win it the whole time.
Yeah.
You had some stiff competition.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we were we won for the arts content long form long form content. And yeah, we were up against the like pretty much the Expressions equivalent of the New York City WNET equivalent of Expressions. They nominated 3 episodes or 3 stories. We were up against like a New Jersey station. So very, very unexpected, but just a testament to all the great work that our small team puts together here, not only for Expressions but for everything that we do here at WSKG. So
everyone should watch Alonzo's Ghost too.
Yes, absolutely. And yeah, there is a link. We've been posting a bunch of links into the chat. So we're wrapping up this live stream. We got to wrap it up soon. Adara and I have a Jets game to watch pretty soon. So, but if you're not interested in the Jets, which hopefully many of you aren't, then check out all the links to Monkey's Paw, to Alonzo's Ghost, which, like I said, was the great Brian Fry documentary about the Robertson Museum. What do you guys have to plug, Chris? What do you got going on?
Well, I start Christmas Carol rehearsal in 2 weeks. I'll be doing it at the Cider Mill.
And I do, I do need to send. We've mentioned Kate Murray a couple of times, and obviously she's, she runs a Cider Mill stage, and she did provide the lab coat that Bill Gorman wore for his for his role in Telltale Heart. So we have to a shout out to them, and another great local arts organization.
And Blast.
Yes. Yep. So Adara, what are you working on towards the end of the year?
Well, I just finished up 4 things in a row. So now we're in that space where theaters start to ramp up their next seasons and auditions. So I'm prepping for that. So nothing on the books yet, but hopeful that the early next year I'll have things to report.
And we just recorded a whole slew of Expressions episodes outside the station. So yeah, we're gonna take Adara to these venues all across our coverage area for some interviews. So your role as host is only going to expand in the future, and I can't thank you enough for your great hosting of our broadcast program and for joining us tonight. And Chris, it was great working with you on this project, and I'm sure we'll be working together again soon.
I hope so.
All right. Well, you guys have a great night.
You too. Go Jets.
All right.
Go Jets.
Jets, Jets. Let's go. So a reminder that you could visit the Southern Tier Actors Read Facebook page for more information about the group and for their upcoming performances. As I mentioned, we posted a link to the complete Halloween Tales Expressions episode in the chat box, so you can check that out if you missed it when it premiered last week. We have links to Alonzo's Ghost as well. We also released this episode in a podcast, in the Expressions podcast feed, and a link to that is being placed in the chat box. I want to thank Alyssa Micha and Patrick Holmes for their behind-the-scenes help this evening, and we will be back soon with another behind-the-scenes look at a great Expressions episode. Until then, this is Andy Piak. Good night.